And we're live.
Yeah.
Anyone out there?
Oh, they're still coming. I gotta check my phone anyway because I got some answers on a couple of things I wrote in.
Oh, it's my answers.
If I can.
Oh, we got 3 people. Hello, hello. It's good to see you. Or yeah.
Can you hear us okay? Let us know.
Oh man.
The glasses are dirty, huh?
Apparently, I don't know how to take them off without touching the lenses, I guess. Oh, we're up to 9. You're hitting thumbs up, so I guess that means good things.
Yeah, probably means they can hear us.
That or they're all going to be lip readers tonight.
Yeah. I'm here from Annapolis, but fading fast. Oh, it's late probably.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Annapolis, yeah.
You can hear us just fine. Well, I guess I answered one question I sent myself. All righty. I'm glad everybody's joining up. We'll wait just a couple minutes. It's just 7:30 now. We'll give everybody a minute or so. Hope everybody's having a...
From Georgia.
Yeah.
Oh, be careful. Lots of storms coming your way.
Yeah. We finally had a decent day today. I mean, I thought I was going to have to go buy me some Gore-Tex. And
we thought we'd move to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, because we were getting rain every single day.
We'll have 3 nice days, and then Easter Sunday, it's going to get crappy again.
Yeah. But it was nice today. Well, yesterday was nice, and today was nice.
Utah in the desert, we need our water, so hush up and take it.
We appreciate it.
That's right.
But some spots are like 200 and something percent.
Yeah, we're over 200% of our
water
normal,
need.
but that still won't fill all our reservoirs.
Yeah. Welcome from Wyoming. There's cousin David in Holbrook.
Oh, yay.
Tempe, Arizona. Got some Tanners down there, or
Turleys,
at least.
A lot of those, and Romneys.
It's only 6:30 in Arizona. All right. Hello, Michigan. Yeah, look at there from Michigan.
We're getting them from all over. You got up 26, I'd say start.
Yeah, it's time. We're going to go ahead and start. I had one question I took last time that said, what's the standard for sealed only items in the tree?
Okay.
So this means that, there was a period of time in the early church history where it was tradition that people would seal themselves to notable church leader, a prophet or apostle or someone who has shown themselves as being a friend to the church, sort of thing, and they used to seal themselves to that person. And it was considered acceptable. And then in 1894, Wilford Woodruff, he had a revelation about it and announced in General Conference in 1984 that we're no longer doing that. We should be sealing to our parents, our fathers,
our own families,
and up our fathers' lines. And that's sort of what kicked off the start of the Utah Genealogical Society. That happened 7 months later. So the answer is those sealings are valid, but the intent of Family Tree is to have genealogically correct information because we're trying to document the families of the world. And so what I ask people to do is to make sure that it's genealogically accurate. So if the couple was not married or didn't have children or didn't cohabitate, then they should not be listed as a spouse, even if they were sealed only ordinances done in the past for those people. It doesn't make the sealings go away. It doesn't make the sealings be invalid. It's just we're trying to make the tree genealogically correct because that's the goal, and to represent the families as constituted in their life. And so that's what I recommend for that.
Perfect.
All right. What do we got? Next three.
This is from Carl Greenwood.
Oh, look at so we got somebody from New Zealand.
Wow.
What is it?
Dedication.
I don't know what the time it is in New
know
Zealand.
what
What time
time
is
it
it in New Zealand right now?
Wow.
Okay.
It says, can you provide more detail on how Family Tree will support fan relationships and when will it be available?
Well, I'm not talking anything about when it's going to be available.
His standard thing is sometime either before or after the millennium.
Yeah. Well, because priorities always change around, and sometimes things have to shuffle. And if it doesn't get released when I told you it's going to be released, you give me nasty emails. So let me talk a little bit about my idea of fan relationships. As you know, for those who are familiar with Elizabeth Shown Mills, fan relationships have been around for a long time. She kind of raised a fan club to talk about that, to make it more of something that people talk more about. And FAN just stands for family, associates, and neighbors. So the idea is that to help in your genealogical research, sometimes you need to look at surrounding individuals like neighbors or associates or other family member to learn about the family you're trying to research. And the idea that we are considering, and I'd love to hear your answer, is on the person page, you have the husband and the wife, and then you have child, 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 and then you have the parents of the husband.
He is drawing something, so
Right.
he'll show you, I guess, in a second.
And then you get siblings down the side. So as you've seen before on the person page, when it comes to relationships, you see this kind of stuff. You know, the husband and the wife. One of them is the primary person, so it's in bold. You see all the children of that particular family, and then you see the parents of the highlighted person. So in this case, the husband would have been the primary person page you're looking at. So you'd see that person's parents and then siblings. And the idea with fan relationships is that we would put we'd probably call them other relationships, since others, people may not understand what fan means. So we'll have a section probably below this one that says other relationships. And you can, and in this concept, we would allow you to create relationships between two people that are not family, but not children or parents or grandkids. Although you could do, ancestor. This was an honored ancestor, or this is my famous ancestor. I don't know if we'll do that, and you put in there one of the interesting ones is think about the homeowner and a boarder, for instance. So here's an example. So you'd have so underneath the relationships, you'd have other relationships, and then you could link two people together. So for instance, this side would always be the primary person. So this side would represent what is the husband. The husband was the homeowner, and then he had a boarder. And so this side would be this person up here, the homeowner. I can't do it because it's backwards. Homeowner. And then over here, this would be a border. So that would be attached to a PID out there in the tree that says, and then there may be some data here, like dates and places and things like that. And that would link this person with this person to say that this person was a boarder in this home. And on the borders PID, you would see the same thing, but it would be flipped. It would say border on this side and homeowner on this one. So that's the idea. And you can use that thing to document. We wouldn't want to document every single, neighbor, every single person that lived, within a mile or anything like that. But the ones that are important and can be helpful and useful in researching further, we'd want that. Plus, and this would also work for those that are working on slave family relationships to slaves. Oftentimes, they'll see the slaves in a census. So they'll see this, if this particular person was a slaveholder, then you could put this person as I don't know what the names would be. We have to be correct in society. So we're talking about those kinds of things. I think they call it. I don't know if they call it slaveholder or slave owner or something. And then indentured servant over here, and that would allow the community who's researching their African American or African ancestors, to be able to take that census that lists him as the sort of homeowner and the slaves are listed in the census, to be able to put that information down here. And that allows that slave family or that set of family to be connected to this person, and it will help provide them an anchor in the tree where they can reside until relationships further back can be discovered and connected. Mm-hmm. And then people could then start building from if this was a slave, indentured servant or indentured slave, they could build the family descendant wise as they're trying to work on going up. So, we're still investigating this. We're still trying to decide what the pairs would be. They would be defined pairs. We won't allow people to just make any pair. So we're visiting with the Chief Genealogical Office, David Rencher and so forth, and others, to help us understand the most important set that would be of most value, and then we'll just periodically reevaluate that. So that's other relationships, which I call fan relationships in my conversations. So there you go. All right, what's next?
Somebody wants the ability to rename audio files. So she says that sometimes she just types her name in real quickly, but later she wants to rename it. Anyway, this is from Joy, and it says, if someone is listed on a census record as married, is that considered a marriage record?
If they're listed on what?
On a census as married, is that considered a marriage record?
Well, no, it's not considered a marriage record. It's considered a census. But you can imply that they were married, especially if they say mother, father, husband, wife, and then they have a list of children in the household. Most people can use that information to make a reasonable genealogical conclusion that those two were a couple and that they had those children. And so it's reasonable to create a marriage relationship. The system will guide you to create a marriage relationship there because you found them as a family in the census. But I wouldn't consider it to be a proof of a marriage record because it doesn't have any marriage information in it at all. Okay.
Here's another one from Rachel. And it says, if we get a name from ordinances ready but aren't able to complete the ordinance, how do we turn it back over to the temple? Just share it?
No. If you have an ordinance ready and you reserved it through ordinance ready and you have the 90 days and you decide you're not going to do it, just unreserve it. Just go to your reservation list and click it and say unreserved, and then it'll go back to the temple list where it came from. We keep track of where it was from, and we just put it back in the same place in line, and so you just unreserve it. Good question, though.
This is from Cheryl. I do not like the new merging duplicates process in FamilySearch. I have been using the merging system for years, and it was convenient when the duplicates had names, and you could click the name of each duplicate and a block was open where you could see the status of ordinances on each duplicate before you decided how or when to merge. Now there are not even names on the duplicates. It takes longer to go back and forth to each duplicate's detail page before you merge. Very lengthy process when it was so simple before the change. On a couple occasions it shows the old system when I was attempting to merge, but it only lasted for a few minutes. Do you have a better way to merge?
I don't know. I'm a bit confused because the family tree merge didn't really show that, and I don't think the old new family search system even showed ordinances as part of a merge, or back in new family search they did combine and separate. So I'm not sure. I'm confused whether you're talking about the source linker that's trying to attach a record or whether you're actually merging two people. But I'll write down. There has been some people that have requested to see ordinances, but I'd like to understand from you all that ordinances is not evidence that because ordinances were done aren't necessarily evidence that they were a couple. As I talked about the sealing stuff, there could have been errors that were made in the past. I don't know if you can rely on sealings for that. So some of you out there who have more experience with this or may understand better what she's talking about could maybe pipe up something in the comments.
Okay. This is from Rex. How do you feel about having a skip button by each ordinance ready candidate? I asked for an endowment, and the offered person has no sources or hints, and I do not have the time or skill to research them. I would like to click skip and leave him for another patron. I may want to get a candidate who is more ready.
Which one are you reading?
Right here.
Oh, down there. Oh, well, when you do ordinance ready, when the screen comes up, and this is both in the mobile app and on the website, I believe they both work the same. Let's say you say ordinance ready, and you get, person 1, person 2, person 3, it could be however many. Off to the side is a little check box, a little check circle, and it has, information in between. So when you say ordinance ready, I want baptism confirmation, or I want endowment, you get a list of people that we're offering to you, and there's like a continue button down here that you hit continue, and it accepts the offer. But you can go and uncheck these things right here. You can click, this is where you can click view relationship and see how I'm related. And if you don't want to take the person, just uncheck that checkbox over on the side and uncheck the ones you don't want to take, and then push the continue, and it'll only reserve the ones that you left checked. So that's
Right.
how you do that. So now somebody else had a question here. Karen Jorgensen. Little Karen, I think we've communicated an email. She's stating that ordinances are lost and emerge. I think that's a good question, and let me respond to that question saying ordinances are never lost. And this was one of our most crucial elements of merging and ordinances, and we were very careful, and we continue to test it, and we have no cases where ordinances are lost. But I will explain why you may think they have been. And if you have a particular case that this doesn't work, then please send me an email, ron@familysearch.org, with more details, the PIDs, the 2 ones that were merged, what ordinance you think was lost. So let me explain how it works. So if this is, over here.
He is trying.
Okay, I'm going to start off like this. The way ordinances work in the tree is you have person 1, that's your PID 1, and you have person 2. And ordinances are kept in a highly secure, duplicated database we call the temple database. And when this ordinance is about this person, they're linked like an attached source. Think of it like that. But no one can remove it. Only admins can affect this stuff. And so I'm going to say this person has 2 ordinances, Ordinance 1A and Ordinance 1B, whatever they are. Baptism confirmation, doesn't matter. And then here's person 2, and they also have ordinances, 2A, 2B, 2C. Okay. Then let's say that P2 is merged into P1. Okay. You're going to take P2 and put it inside of P1. Well, when that happens, this is what happens. We put a link over here to 2A, 2B, and 2C. So we make a copy. You can't read that very well. I thought I was very good at writing that, but it was at a different angle. 2A,
You're in a hurry.
2B, 2C. So we make a link to not only the 1A and 1B is there, but now the 2A, 2B, and 2C is also hooked to P1. And this person goes away, right? This person goes away because he's merged away. So he's archived away. This person has all of the ordinances from both people. Then what happens is we run a process. In some busy days, like a Sunday or some other big days, it may take a few minutes for this to happen. But within a few minutes, and by the way, we're working on making it faster, and it'll probably be done sometime beginning. Yeah, well, this one will actually be sometime early next year. It'll be faster, and then you have to refresh your page after the merge. So you refresh it a couple times, wait 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, and then refresh it. And what we do is we calculate what's called the effective ordinance. So the effective ordinance is the first ordinance. So that could mean that this one shows, and this one shows, and this one shows as the ordinances on this person, because they were the earliest ordinances. This is a baptism, this is confirmation, this is an initiatory or something. Those were the ones that show on this person, because those were the effective ordinances, the ones that were done earliest. Now, if you're looking after a merge for that 1B to show up or that 2A to show up, and it doesn't, it's probably because it's a duplicate ordinance and it's not the first one. Okay. Now, just to go a little further, I'm going to go back and get rid of this stuff here, little circles. Now let's say I unmerge. So I get rid of that. I want to unmerge, so I restore this one back because I did the wrong thing. When that happens, we go over to this guy over here and we remove these from that person, and then we recalculate here the effective ordinances, and they'll show up. Okay? That's how merge works. And we're very deliberate and very careful to make sure that it always works well this way. And I have not been able to discover a case yet where we have not done the proper things. If you believe that you found one, then be sure and let me know. Okay.
Not a question, just a great big thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
From Denise. She says she just loves the new feature where the temple sends a message letting us know.
Oh, yeah.
They've been completed.
A lot of people have been liking that message.
I have.
Yeah.
That's nice. Anyway, here's one from Mary. It says it appears to be taking about 2 years for male names that we share with the temple to be completed. I've been told that when we share a name with the temple, that it goes into the temple in our temple district. Is that the case? And is 2 years an average time for shared ordinances to be completed? I'm just wondering, is there a faster way to get them done?
Okay, well, yes, today, when you share to the temple, those ordinances are set aside for your temple district. And the only time they're done somewhere else is if there's another temple district that doesn't have that ordinance. Let's say you shared an endowment and you're in line in your temple district. Maybe there's 1,000 or 2,000 endowments in front of you. So you got to wait to move to the front of the line. But during that time, let's say that another temple needs an ordinance. And I can't remember if they take the earliest or what, but they grab one from that temple district and give it to the other temple district. If it's yours, then you're in a short line and it gets done right away. The average, we analyze the average of length of time it takes to ordinances to get done through the temple because we want it to have a regular progression. And it just all depends on the temple district you're in. If you have lots of people in your temple district that do family history, and a lot of them that submit to the temple, you got a big line. If you're in another temple district and then people don't submit a lot of names to the temple, the line's short. It's just the way it is. Now, in the future, which we're hoping sometime in end of the year or first half of next year, we're going to complete our work where we're changing the whole inventory system, where it will be no longer restricted to a particular temple district. Instead, it will be a global temple list that any temple will take the oldest one that's been waiting in line first, no matter what temple it is. So that just makes it more fair, and it kind of makes it very orderly. And then you'll start seeing movement of ordinances that are happening. Some that have been waiting a long time in some temple districts will get done quick because they'll be the first ones to spread around to all the 100 and 200 temples or whatever they are now. It seems like it keeps growing all the time. More temples growing, the faster it'll go through. Plus, you have to also remember that people are starting to bring their own cards more, so that reduces the amount of people that are taking temple names. However, things like Ordinance Ready and other things we are planning on doing will actually encourage people to take their relatives who may be on the temple list, and we'll just give them to them and they can take it. So
it's going to be cool. I know.
Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good.
This one is really long. I think you got to answer him separately.
Okay.
This is from L. That's all that thing.
Oh, here, let me just answer one out here. It says, I keep finding families that are in-laws to my 1,800 cousins. They are not really blood relatives, but their children would have a common ancestor with me. Can I do the temple work for them? The answer is yes. The policy is you can go up your line, direct line, and then you can go down and get the descendants of that direct line. You can't turn around and go back up again, like over a spouse and go do that line unless you have a common ancestor. So yes, you can do those that are going up or going down. Let me just see if there's anything else in here. Okay, go ahead, Sri.
This one's from I guess it's Hernandez. Anything new in FamilySearch for Hispanic research, training, helps, etc.?
Oh, well, we have if you remember the church, we have lots of Mexican records, censuses and stuff. We continue to partner and work with others to get more of those records. And actually, I think there's lots of intensity right now with South America and in Central America, Mexico and down, to try to get more opportunities. We're all constantly going to places and trying to make arrangements to be able to film and index their records so that we can provide them for you. So I know in particular they're trying to really get as many or get more Latino records than we have right now. So just stay tuned.
This is from Colin. Is there a version of the Family Tree app if a Family Tree app version in Ancestry is buggy, is it possible to roll back the app to answer an earlier version?
In other Ancestry?
No, in
Android.
Can you roll it back and get an older one?
I don't think
the current one is buggy.
I don't think so. But you should certainly report the bug in the Android. So send me an email, ron@familysearch.org, and I'll make sure that the team that does mobile has that information. So please send that to me.
Okay, here's one from Diane. I've noticed that names that have been shared to the temple file for a long time are gone. Does this mean that FamilySearch has escalated in doing the ordinances in the temple file?
No, I just think Ordinances Ready has helped a lot in getting a lot of the names that were in the temple file done. Because people are, for some people, this is the first time they've actually been able to actually get an ordinance from their family.
Yeah.
And because it's just hard to find, and they're ready to go and stuff like that. So, okay, let's see. Justin says she might be referring to how some places you can click on a person's name and it comes up with a pop-up summarizing information about the person, including the ordinance. Oh, okay. So Justin's speculating that the prior question was about the person card. That's what we call it, the person card. When you click a name and it pops up and it shows just some basic, birth, death, and then memories and how many counts. And then it has the ordinances down below. Those ordinances are also the effective ordinances. You hover over it and it'll actually tell you the dates and temples. But I'm guessing you used to be able to click on a possible duplicate in the sidebar to the right and a person. I don't remember us ever showing possible duplicates of ordinances. Okay. Let me just
one off yours.
I'm gonna ask one of mine here. A performance issue here. So. Computers. Somebody asked if I can get notified when you are live in the future, and the answer is yes. You just need to, I think, friending the Family History Ron page will, when we enter an event, will cause you to get notified. I don't know if it will. We have one next week, so next Thursday we have another live.
That's right, because the next week we're taking off to go watch our daughter get remarried.
Yeah. Which
we're very excited about. We like this guy very much.
Yeah. So we wanted to do two, so we squished them together.
So, but I think that's it. She usually will post the time and everything, but she's been a little bit nutty lately. So,
yeah, well.
Anyway.
All right.
You want this one?
Yeah.
This one's from Lee, and it says, ordinance disappearing. It seems like completed ordinances are disappearing from records a lot more than in the past. I assume this is due to a record merge and ordinances not tracking the merged records. Would you mind showing us how the completed ordinances track through merges and other record changes and combinations?
Well, there you go. I just did that.
Okay.
So I got
Also
that.
show how reserved ordinances are removed if records are merged and the second and third, etc. merged record has completed ordinance. Just so we know whether to worry or not about these merged situations.
Yeah, in a merge, like I said, no ordinances are lost. In a restore or unmerged, the ordinances are put back where they were. What was it? He has secondary one here?
He said, I guess this more merges on a second or third.
Yeah, it
merge
doesn't
record.
matter how many merges there are. It does the same thing. You know, you only do one merge at a time. And so if these two got merged, the ordinances get on that one. And then if this other one gets merged with it, then the ordinances all transfer to the survivor in all cases. So Monique said, didn't we used to be able to undo someone else's merge in the change history? And the answer is yes. You can still do that. But we need to add some more capability. We know we need to do that. Is if you merge and then you go, I shouldn't have done that. You go in the change log, you hit the unmerge button, and everything goes back the way it was, just like it was before the merge. But if somebody changes something after the merge has happened, then we don't know where that data should go. Does it go to the duplicate or the other duplicate? You know, where does that data go? So right now, what we do is if it's been merged and then people have changed things, you can't unmerge to get them back to what they were before, but you can restore the one that was merged away. So that's the difference. And then you have to kind of go back to the other one and clean off stuff that belonged to the other person. And we continue to think about how we can help people recover in those situations. It's fairly complicated and complex, and so we're trying to figure out how to present that to users and how to have people not abuse it, because it could be abused pretty heavily. Just getting things, it will cause more war, right? I change it to look like I want it to look like, and then I undo all your changes and change it to what you want it to look like, and so forth. So we have to think hard about how to do that and how to make it so it just doesn't become a
There's going to be meetings when they're going to need some Excedrin.
Yeah, there's going to be a few of those. Okay.
This is from Karen. Why not include a notification that comes when someone has sent a message and the message has been opened? It would be nice to know that someone saw my message.
Yeah, we're talking about that too, but in order for us to do that, we have to allow a person to say, I don't want to be watched. I don't want to be monitored. Just like in any email system, you may request to know when the person opened it, but that person who you sent the message to has to have the right to say, I don't want to tell you that I opened it. So since that's a problem, we got lots of other things to worry about. We haven't been worrying about that one in particular. Now, Monique says, when will the original ordinance dates show up for our early pioneer ancestors who did the work themselves? Those should be there. If they're not there, there's two places that those ordinances could be. One, it could be in a duplicate that's already out there and you just need to find it. But remember, if it's early pioneer ancestors, the only data we have to stick into the tree is what was on the temple card. And so imagine if they had Harry, no last name, deceased. There would be a Harry, no last name, but deceased in the tree with those ordinances on them. And that would be next to impossible to find. And it would never show up as a possible duplicate because there's just not enough information to be able to say that we believe these are the same person. So what I recommend to do, if you have one of those situations and you've looked carefully to see if you can find a duplicate, you've done some searches outside of hinting or outside of possible duplicates, you still can't find it, then you need to contact support and get a case started and tell them the pioneer ancestor and tell them the temple and the date if you know that, if you have that recorded somewhere in a PATH file or an old JEDCOM file or some books or documents. Just tell them when you believe the ordinance occurred and all the information about that ancestor. And the admins have the ability to be able to go search in old systems for that ordinance and try to find that, and then they can help you there from that. Okay.
Okay. These are requests for some items, so I'm going to have you do that later.
Okay.
All right. Janice said, is there a way to have a warning or a pop-up on the edit page when people go to change information? All my dates and places are sourced and show on the edit page. A warning like, are you sure you want to do this? Please check sources first. It's frustrating when people change correct information with incorrect and do not document what they enter. Something needs to be done.
Yeah. Well, everybody, we all have lots of ideas, and I'll take that idea back. This is one of the greatest challenges of the Common Tree. I think the benefits outweigh these challenges, but it is a challenge, and we are continually researching and discussing how we can help people do a better job and not change data that's there. I've mentioned over the years a handful of potential features that we haven't been able to do yet, that we think will help. Certainly, we added in the new client a count of the number of sources that are tagged to those dates and places in an effort to try to show people when they go to edit it, it pops up, shows all the sources there. And we do have proposals to be more aggressive in warning people about that. So we recognize the pain. We've all had that. Mm-hmm. We've all had that. And what some experienced, people have been doing this a lot, have told me as I've done some interviews and asking about these kinds of things, is one said, I went and got a hold of the person, I sent him a message and we communicated and I explained to him, why what they did was incorrect, and then taught them how I knew that. They sort of spend a little time. So you spend sometimes even if you connect with that relative and spend a little time and sort of teaching them how to do this and train them and why it was wrong and what they should have done different and what they ought to look for in the future, that oftentimes you get an advocate. There was one guy told me just the other day, just a couple of weeks ago, that said, I took some time and taught this person what was going on. It was a controversial ancestor that had bad information in other PATH files or in books that was incorrect because they didn't have the access to the sources. And as they come, when they happened, I communicated with them. We got together. I explained to them how it was doing it, over emails, phones, whatever. And then he says, now, when somebody makes a change to that person, by the time I get to that person, it's all been corrected by my relatives, because they understand now why the new answer is right, and they actually fix it before he ever finds it. So he gets notified that it got changed. By the time he gets there, it's already been corrected and fixed up. That's so cool. Now he's got a bunch of advocates with him helping to keep the tree straight. So I would recommend spending a little time if you can. It'll save you more time later as you help train your relatives proper ways to do things. Don't be angry. We've found very few people. Rarely is somebody in there trying to be destructive. They're just doing the best they can with what they know and understand. And we all have to help out and figure out ways to help them learn better.
That's right. This is from Barbara. When is the ordinance ready feature really going to work?
Yeah. I don't know what you mean. I think it works. She says that
they were excited to go, and when she got there, it offered her 5 names or sealings, and it said it offered 5, but the only one was ready to be sealed, and the other 4, either the husband or the wife, or neither had been endowed. And in one case, the wife had no ordinances done at all, only reserved, not even printed.
Okay, now I'm going to explain this to you, and we're trying to come up with some more material to explain this. But sealings to spouses have always been allowed to be done out of order in the temple. We ask that if you have the whole reservation, meaning you have all of the people involved, you have the mother, the father, the child, the spouses, you have all of that data already reserved. So you have the parents, the child, and the grandparents or whatever that they're going to get sealed to or whatever. If you have all of that reserved, you should always do them in the order that we do for living, meaning all of the ordinances are done before you go do the sealings. However, when you go to the temple and you pick up a sealing, or you do ordinance ready, or you do some other mechanism, then there will be cases where we will hand out a sealing to spouse when one or both of those parties don't have all the ordinances done. And that is acceptable in that case because you don't have reserved all of those people, and it's acceptable to go ahead and perform it. The ordinance is valid, but it's not effective. The ordinance is not considered effective until all the ordinances are completed for the family members in that sealing.
Brutus is home.
Yeah, visiting
Scared
from
me to
college.
death.
You're already done with homework, huh?
No, I'm going to get a drink.
I
Do
see.
you want any more?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, there goes Jared. Mr. College Man.
He's getting ready for finals, and
Yeah.
it's craziness.
Yeah. So, so ordinance ready is performing appropriately and in the way it should. We don't hand out sealing to parents without the BCIE done for the child, which is our obligation. And so in those cases, you won't get a sealing to parent unless the prior ordinances are all done. But in sealing spouse, it is acceptable for us to hand that out.
Okay. This one is interesting. Let's see. Okay, it says they've asked this before, but it says they just changed their display name on FamilySearch, and I've noticed that it does not change for those items I've already input. So I went looking around a bit, and it seems to show the display name I had at the time when I put the information. On some, it still shows an email that is no longer active, a full name I'd rather not display, et cetera, et cetera. How do I change this, or is it impossible?
All right. So this can be a little confusing. She's talking about I have in FamilySearch, and it's particularly in Family Tree, you have multiple names, believe it or not.
Mhm.
You have a username, which you use for login. You have a display name, which is used to, I don't even know if we use it anymore, but it was used a lot in New FamilySearch. So it's just how we address you, the system. And then you have a contact name, which is public. Okay. So these are the three names that each of us have when we have an account with FamilySearch. You have a username. This is the name you use when you log in. You have a display name, which is constructed. If you're a member of the church, it's constructed from your first and last name. If you're a public user, we construct it from the first and last name you give us when you register. This is only displayed to you. The display name is only shown to you when the system is addressing you. Maybe we'll say, "Welcome, Ron Tanner, for coming back," or something like that. In New FamilySearch, it was displayed at the top of your page. And I think it might be displaying where the little drop down, and you can look at your preferences, and that's where it's displayed. But no one sees that one. So this one is you only. This one only you see. But this one, the contact name, that's the only one that's public. So everybody has to have a contact name. And the system, if you don't edit it, will generate a contact name for you. It may use parts of your name in the display name and then add some numbers or something. You can change this contact name. So you go into settings, which is the top right-hand corner. You click on, I don't know what you click on. I can't remember what it's called. What is it called?
I don't know.
How come you don't know?
I don't work there.
I don't think you have to work there.
Oh, I don't get in there enough. My teacher has been remiss in teaching me about this. I have to sit here in these lectures.
Yeah, so there's your name at the top right-hand corner. That's your display name. And then you go to settings. You click that, and you go to this. You choose settings. And on the settings page, there's a contact tab. You go to the contact tab, and you can go change this name to be whatever you want, as long as it's unique in the system. So if you want to you don't want everybody to know your first and last name, for instance, you can come in and choose a different name down here, And that's what will display on the family tree and in memories when people say who contributed this information. It's this contact name. So that's the way. So just realize that your username is your own personal thing. Display name is only shown to you. It should never be shown outside to anybody else. And the contact name is the only name. Now, the only other time your other information will show is on that same settings page. You have options of sharing your contact name, your email, your phone number, your mobile number, and your address. And that's chosen by selecting the public flag, the public check mark next to each of those pieces of data. If you check that, then when somebody sees your contact name and they click it, they will see all that information about you. So if you want that stuff to be confidential as well, you need to go in that same settings page and uncheck the public setting. Okay.
This is from Pam, and this is in relationship to your live stream from Rootstech. It says she was really disappointed that they cut it off and didn't allow the response.
Yes, I am sorry about that. I don't know why they did that. They didn't do that to all sessions. For some reason, they did it for mine. But anyway.
Yeah, we were frustrated with that too.
Yeah.
This is a request feature. Want to ask if it could be possible to implement user-defined lists. Maybe limit the number of lists a user can generate. For example, descendants of an ancestor who was born in England between 1837 and 2018 who have no GRO birth record source attached, or descendants who were born after 1810 and died after 1912 that do not have the 1911 UK census attached. That way we can hone in on and say descendants with missing sources attached. Just a thought.
Yeah. Certainly be a nice thing. So mark that one as one I'm going to have to copy.
Okay.
In.
Yeah, he's got a couple of these, so he's got.
All right. While you're writing it down, Joy asks here, is there a plan to help youth be able to get on FamilySearch earlier than 16? Actually, a youth can get on to FamilySearch as early as age 13. They can do that today. They have to have permission from their parents, and their parents have to approve their account before it becomes activated. We are looking at options that we can do for 11-year-olds, because 11-year-olds are now deacons and beehives, and they can go to the temple now. So we're working through privacy, we're working through internet laws to see how we can offer that, and we're working hard, and there's several options that they're reviewing. Hasn't been implemented yet, but that's what we're trying to do, get down. You can do 13 now, and then we're trying to get it down to 11.
That's great. Okay, this is from Monique. I love the new chronological automatic ordering of the sources. I will no longer have to edit the title and put the year and the actual event in, then drag and drop sources. But my question is, if someone manually orders the sources in a different order, will that show up for everyone that way, or for just the person who changed it?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, I will.
But I think it doesn't matter if you go to it and it shows in manual order. I mean, they drug it around. You can always click the order at A to Z, and or newest to oldest, and it'll do it for you.
Okay.
And then they can come in and say, no, I want the other view, and it'll reorder it back to what they had set. So I believe both sides see the same views. What I can't remember is if you can set it and you say, I like, oldest to newest, and does it always do that when you go in? I can't remember off the top of my head whether that's remembered and applied every time you go to that tab. So that's the part I'm going to go check with engineers. I don't know if they've done that, and I haven't played with it enough, because Tanner lines are pretty well done, and most people stay away from for the most part.
Yeah.
Except when you get in some places. But
yeah, this is from Jessica. So on the website, I can sort sources by date or custom order. Will this be available on the app anytime soon? It makes it so much easier to see what they're missing if they are in order.
Yeah, that's a good question too.
Okay, I will write that one down, and he'll.
Yeah, I'll go talk to the mobile guys.
Okay, this is from Sister Sorensen. Why doesn't FamilySearch online show relationship in view my relationship like the Family Tree app does? For example, third cousin, fourth time removed.
Yeah, the reason we don't show that is because I think we only show that in English on the app. So we don't show it in other countries or other languages. And that's because it's different for each of the different languages. We tried it on the mobile app first to see what kind of reaction we get. And actually, a lot of people don't know what removed means. And so that's a struggle.
Yeah.
So we're currently, for the last several months, we've been working with our translation department, and they've been doing a bunch of research for us to figure out how we could say this in such a way that everybody can understand without having to have custom phrases for every different language. And we're still finalizing that work. But as you can imagine, that's tough to do. So we're still working on that.
Okay.
Let's see. Justin Pace, what information in a person's other information section do hints and possible duplicate engines consider? I know it takes into account alternate names, but it seems unlikely it considers, it doesn't consider the military service or the occupations or any of that kind of stuff. I don't think it does residences either. I'll have to go. I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
Well,
so
actually, he's the next question up. Justin
is that
Pace.
the question?
I don't know. It says a valuable resource for me are the early Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints branch records from England in the 1800s. Example, film numbers and whatever. However, the only access I have to these records is through microfilm. I always believed that they weren't available online because they have not been digitized. I now have beta access to the new image search online, which should have all these digitized images. However, the branch records are still not available. Do you know why or when they might become available?
No, I have to go talk to the records guys about that one. So, in here, Tricia said, any chance we could start getting notification when names we submit to the temple file are completed? That is in the plan, although it's much later in the year because we need to complete. Our desire is to complete the way the temple file, as I discussed earlier, changes without the temple districts. And there's a few other features that the temple has asked us to do first. So it's on the list. We'll get to it, but it'll be later, and then you'll start getting notified. Sorry. I know that would be really nice to have.
Just a lot going on.
Yeah.
I can tell you, he comes home, he's whatever, stressed out. This is from Sheila. She says, I am adopted, and I have found my birth mother. No problem there. Through DNA testing, I have found my paternal grandparents. My birth father could be one of two brothers. How can I document this on FamilySearch? Skip the father and link to the grandparents, or link to both of the brothers explaining in the notes sections, or just enter the last name for the father, then explain in the notes that it could be either of the two. No one is alive, no possibility of testing potential half-siblings.
That's a tough one. You'd have to know what the last name of that father might be.
Well,
so if you know the last name of that father, you probably need to put it in there as, Mr. Smith with some about dates and things like that. But I wouldn't necessarily. So I wouldn't necessarily connect those children to the grandparents, because people will assume that they're the children of those parents and just start doing it, even if you put it in the notes. So my recommendation is you either find enough information about the father that you can put in a limited amount of data, or just keep researching until you can find it.
okay.
Let's see. Oh yeah, some are saying I haven't actually gone out and tried to register people, but they're saying that they're able to do 8-year-olds
Amy.
and 11-year-olds. It's the same process as the 13, I guess. They have to get permission, or the account has to be turned on by the parents, or in an email they can respond and get it done.
Cool.
How is the consultants list populated in the contact us under help? That is based on the callings that people have in the ward. So in the consultants planner.
Okay. This one's from Sherry. And it says, why doesn't add a father or add a mother work when a child is listed with only one of the parents of the couple? Always says that the couple relationship already exists.
Yeah.
I have to go into the show relationship and add the missing parent in that dialog box.
That's right. That's right. So what you've got, the situation that is being discussed here, is that you have a child that's showing up in two places. And this is good to understand. This is about relationships. So you have a mother and a father, and you have a child. and then you have or let's go the other way. Father, mother, child, and then you have the mother with the same child. So this is what the
Get him, Daisy.
it has, and it's kind of abbreviated, but I think you get it. You have a father and a mother and a child, child one, and then you have a add spot for the father, and you have the same mother as this one up here. So this is mother one, and this is also mother one, the same PID, and it's the same child down here. How on earth can that be? You know, it's up here and it's down there. Well, that's because this child has two parent-child relationships. He has one that's just the mother, and he has another one that says this is a child with both the mother and the father. And the way you fix this is you delete this relationship right here. You delete this child relationship. You go into that child relationship, you have to do the show all, and you hit delete, and then when you do, this will go away, and everything will be beautiful again. The reason why it complains is here's the mother, and then you have plus here, is when you click to add the father, and you're going to add in F1 here, it's going to say F1 and mother one are already a spouse up here. You can't have more than one parent relationship or spouse relationship, can't have more than one spouse relationship with the same two people in it. And the reason why we force that to happen is because we don't want a whole bunch of duplicate relationships being created. So if there's already one with that same father and that same mother, you can't make another one. And by default, to help, because most of the time people are adding children to couples and you want to have a spousal relationship, most of the time we just automatically do that. So the right answer for that case is to go delete the child's relationship to the mother, the single mother, and if it's the same child, it'll just appear. If that person is a different child, then you're correct. You have to go in and add the father to that parent-child relationship, and that happens. It doesn't happen that much. It kind of happened early on a lot, and but that's why, because we're trying to not have duplicate relationships.
This is from Steve, and he says the ordinance feature is excellent. However, when you click Take to the Temple button, it takes you directly to printing cards. I want to first reserve them, review them, and make sure they're good, and then decide to print some or all of them, possibly along with other names that I have already reserved. I would prefer that the names selected are the only reserved and not immediately printed. Can this be an option in the process?
No, the purpose of Ordinance Ready is to help people have the intent is someone's wanting to go to the temple and have a personal experience. And so we're trying to make it easy so people can do it. They don't have to worry about reservation lists and checking it and clicking print and which card to print, the FOR or the family name cards. And we're trying to make it really super simple for someone to get a name to take to the temple that they're related to. And as I said earlier, if you don't want to take those people, then
Mark that button on the side.
Then uncheck the boxes on the side and won't take them, or just push the button and print it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to print it on your paper on your printer. Just print it. It pops up a dialog, another page that shows the printout. Just delete it. But they're on your reservation list, so now you can go look at them and do more research. And if you don't want them, you just unreserve them.
Sounds like a plan.
So, okay.
Here's one from Gretchen. I really like the previous versions of how portraits appeared. When you wanted to change it, you click on it and the format that you choose would appear. I don't like the new portrait view that has been resized.
I guess.
Why was it changed?
I don't know if it's resized. I don't think it's a lot of ways it's better because you go get a picture and then you can put a circle over it and then you can zoom it in and zoom it out to make it nice and fill the circle. The only thing that really changed was you could only have one portrait. And we used to have the concept of preferred portraits. When we did research on all of those that had a portrait, it was like 99.99% of them only had one portrait. Mm-hmm. So we had the portrait service wasn't fast and didn't scale right. And so we had to rebuild it, and we decided when we rebuilt it, since there were so few that had, it didn't seem like it was a few, but the percentage was so small that had more than one portrait, that we built it for speed and efficiency and moved to just one portrait. Let's see, Carl says, do the view relationships only get calculated on periodic cycle? Yeah, no, Carl, those get generated on the fly. The relationship gets generated on the fly, and you're saying that some kids were added 15 generations out. I don't know if your relationship thing was going that high, so that could be one issue. But the system that is tracking relationships gets information from the family tree backend just as fast as it can, and oftentimes it's doing millions of recalculations every second, and there will be occasions when it could get backed up or take a few minutes, something like that. But I haven't heard any reports of this. So if you have a particular example, or if I don't know, I'll bring it up, but I think it would be difficult to track down because it probably resolved itself, unless you say right now they're not showing up. But that may be because it's not going down that path as a relationship for you. Remember, the relationship, how you view your relationship between you and a deceased person takes the shortest path. That's oftentimes the direct route, but not necessarily always. Okay.
I don't know.
It's 8:30. Let's do one more.
Let's hear this one. I guess it's Paul. I don't know. It says, are you tracking the number of possible duplicates? I mean, are they increasing or decreasing?
We do track the number of duplicates. It's a very important metric for us, as this is one of our primary reasons for existing. And the duplicate rate is actually decreasing. We actually went through a process just recently to reevaluate and see where we are, and it's actually decreasing. So it's doing very well. You may not always feel that way, especially if you're doing a lot of possible duplicates putting together. But the rate at which duplication is entering the system is slower or slowing, while the rate that you're cleaning them up is increasing. So we appreciate your assistance. There will always be duplication. I want to make that clear. There's never going to be a time when we will have zero duplication. I think that will only happen during the millennium.
When the Lord puts his
when the Lord takes care of it, because there's just the records are just not perfect enough to make determinations, and people will say, well, I don't think that's close enough to match, and so they'll make a duplicate. So we're never going to be duplicate until those times, I suspect, just because we're imperfect people working on imperfect records.
True.
So let me see. Here it has Monique. Boy, I see Monique's been asking a lot of questions. Maybe somebody answered it below. Okay. Okay, looks like some answers are happening.
Mark, your daughter-in-law's online. He just said Nicole or Erica was online.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think she's. Oh.
Yes, she did.
Oh, hi, Erica. Thanks for joining us. Okay, I think we're kind of winding down. It's 8:30. Mm-hmm. We've had a really good session. I appreciate it. I hope we answered a lot of questions for you. Keep submitting those questions. We're in the late March timeframe, so we're catching up. We try to answer as fast as we can to catch up from those few times that we were out, because I was out for pneumonia.
And family or Rootstech.
Yeah, Rootstech and stuff. So keep submitting those questions. Remember, you can submit them anytime. You don't have to wait to ask those questions until now. You can submit them early, and we just do first ones on the list. The next one that submitted questions, the first one we answer. And as you saw, we pick a few that come out on the live, just so you can get some questions answered. So thank you very much. We appreciate all you do. I'm grateful for your willingness to work in a community tree. It's not easy sometimes, but we're doing a great work. It's amazing the work, how it's progressing and accelerating all over the world. And
it really is.
We just looked at the biggest tree again in preparation for a presentation I'm doing here in the next week or so, and it's grown another 6 million. It's in the or no, almost 10 million. It's in the 480 million stage.
Isn't that amazing?
Just
That's
in the last
6 weeks.
That's the last 6 weeks.
Mm.
So it really is. We are really one family. It's just amazing to me to see that. And thank you for all you do and for all your help and for all you do to help others understand how the system works. I really appreciate it. I want you all to have a good night.
And happy Easter.
Oh, yeah.
I
that's
really
right.
hope that it's a good holiday for everyone involved.
All right. We'll see you later. Take care. Have a good evening.